future. So I'm going to tell you a story tonight about a boy named David. Have you guys heard of David in the Bible? Everybody's heard of David? Does anybody not know who David is? Raise your hand if you don't know who David is. All right, so everybody pay close attention. This is where you got to pay real close attention because at the end we're going to have questions and we're going to have prizes and things like that. All right, Jeremiah 29:11. God has a plan for you. God had a plan for a young man by the name of David. Everybody say David?
David.
David lived in the town of Bethlehem. Everybody say Bethlehem?
Bethlehem.
Now, he had lots of brothers. And he was like one of the youngest. He was the youngest of all them. And he had a special job. Does anybody know what David's job was? Wait, who said that? Shepherd. What was he? Herding sheep. Does that sound like fun? Does anybody here want to go herd sheep? Okay, I can tell you right now, it's all the stinky, smelly boys, most of them, that want to go herd sheep. Because it's a stinky, smelly job. So is David anything big?
No.
No. Okay. So God told the prophet Samuel, everybody say Samuel?
Samuel.
I want you to go to Bethlehem because I have rejected Saul, everybody say Saul, as king because he was disobedient. So I've rejected Saul as king and I want you to go to Bethlehem. Everybody say Bethlehem? Bethlehem. And I want you to anoint David.
Saul.
Nope, he said, I want you to anoint the new king of Israel. Did he tell him the name?
No.
No. So here goes Samuel. And he goes to Jesse's house. Knocks on the door. He goes, hey, I'm here to anoint the next king of Israel. Bring in your sons. So Jesse brings in his strapping young boys. Big, tall men. They were good looking. Let's see. Nah. Come here. Now, look at Zach. We're going to call him Abinadab. Everybody say Abinadab. Abinadab. He stood before Samuel. Samuel's looking at him. He's such a fine, strapping young man. You know what? I think he would be the next king of Israel. What do you think God said? No. Nope. Because I see his heart. And he doesn't have a heart for me. I reject him as king. Sorry. And then we bring up another brother. Don't know his name. They just kind of filed in. Oh, wow. He's tall, handsome, thin. Oh, my goodness. I think he will be the next king of Israel. And God said, nope. He's not going to be the next king of Israel. Don't you? And then, I need AJ. Can you come here? Go stand right over there by my tube. Now, all these young men come filing by one, and each one, God said, nope, not them. And he said, well, do you have any other sons? He says, well, yeah, I have one more son. He's out in the back taking care of the sheep. Basically kind of stinks. Well, and Jesse says, bring him in. Bring him in. Come on. Oh, here comes David. Is he as, come here, boys. Come here. Is he as big and strong and tall as they are? No. Does he look like he could possibly even be a king?
Yes.
Ah, not on the outside, does he? But the Bible says man looks on the outside, but God looks on the heart. And he was looking at the heart of David against the hearts of his brothers. The hearts of his brothers were not following after God. They would not make good kings. But David, while he was out with the sheep, he was praying and he was singing. And the Bible says that David had a heart that followed after God. You may sit down, boys.
Oh, God.
So, here comes little David. And he stands up there and God said, this is the one. And Saul goes, really? No. Samuel goes, really? No, he didn't say that. But he said, I want you to anoint him to to be the next king of Israel. So the Bible says that Samuel pulled out the oil and he poured it over David's head, and he anointed him to be the next king of Israel. Thank you, AJ. You may have a seat. Does that mean that the next day, David went out and became king? No. The next week, did David become king? No. The next year? No. The next 10 years? No. David went back to tending his father's sheep. And he tended his father's sheep until one day his father said, I want you to go and I want you to take dinner to your brothers who are out at the battlefield. He was still out there at the sheep. He wasn't even fighting. Because he was too little and too young, they thought. And so he gets there, and they're in battle, and there's a big giant. Anybody know his name? Jeff. Does anybody out here know his name? Jeff. No, Jeff is not the big giant. Goliath. It was Goliath. And Goliath is standing there, and he's like, send me a man to fight. Jeff, come here. I like it. Come here, Jeffy. AJ, come back up here. Okay, so they're like, send me a man to fight. And David's hearing him, and he's just yelling, you guys are wimps. And whoever defeats me, then my people will serve you. But if I defeat you, then you will have to serve me. Jeff, stand right here. You're going to be Goliath, man. You're big, tough, mean. Yeah, he thinks he is. So here's Jeff, big, tough, mean. But that's Goliath, okay? You're David, right? You're not AJ right now. You're Goliath, right? You're not Jeff right now. So David gets mad. He said, who is this man that stands against the armies of God? He's all mad. He's like, I'll go out and fight him if none of you else will. Then they tried to put Saul's armor on him. Come here, Mason. We're going to pretend this is Saul. Now, do you think he could wear your clothes? No. Could you wear his clothes? Would they fit you? No. What would you look like? You'd be swimming in them, wouldn't you? Well, that's what they tried to do to David. Thank you. You can have a seat, Saul. Anyway, so they tried to put Saul's clothes, his armor, on David. David said, forget this. He says, I'm going to go down to the brook. And what did he get? Does anybody know?
Sling.
Oh, he's already got a sling. What did he get out of the brook, out of the water? 5 smooth stones. There's only one giant. Why did he get 5? Anybody know?
Big.
And well, some people thought maybe he had some big old brothers out there that he would have to fight too. So here comes David. Little bitty David. Get your arm out of your pocket. All right. Ball up that fist. Okay? And the Bible says, Goliath's standing here and he's just yelling, am I a dog? That you'd send a child out here to fight with me? Does it look like this boy can beat this boy?
No.
I don't think so. But the Bible says that David went running. David went running. Yeah. And now wait, don't get to it quick. We're going to do this slow motion. Ready? The Bible says that David went running. I'll run with you. Okay, I'll be the big David. Ready? And he was slinging his stone around, and he threw it in the air, and it hit Goliath smack in the head. And what did Goliath do? What did Goliath do? All right, Jeffy. I need you on the ground, dude. He fell like he was dead. But he's just knocked out. So, David came over, and he grabbed his sword. And then he came over, and he cut his head off. All right. So David killed Goliath. God had one. You can leave now, Goliath. Yep, David, you can go back down. Somebody help Goliath up off the ground. So anyway, David killed Goliath. Give Goliath and David a hand. And Saul and the brothers. All right. So Samuel anointed David to be king. David went back out and he tended his father's sheep. But while he was tending his father's sheep, God was preparing him. Because while he was tending his father's sheep, a bear came along. And to eat the sheep. David said that the Spirit of the Lord came upon him and he tore that bear up. He killed it. And then, the Bible says, a lion came along to eat the sheep. And the Bible says that the Spirit of the Lord came upon David and he tore the lion up. So while David was out there watching the sheep, God was preparing him for battle with Goliath. Now, let's fast forward. Almost 40 years. That's a long, long, long time. How many of you guys are 40 years old? Oh, you're lying, boy. Ain't one of you in here 40 years old. I'm 40 plus. I would have been 5 years old. Anyway, 40 years he's been out there. And he was brought into Saul's palace. And he married Saul's daughter by the name of Michal. Now, the Bible says that an evil spirit from the Lord came upon Saul, the king. Remember who is Saul?
The king.
He is the king. But God said, I rejected him because of his disobedience, right?